You know, there is this incredibly frustrating yet entirely universal human experience. You are frantically tearing your house apart, looking for your glasses, or, maybe your car
Oh
keys.
yeah, checking under the couch cushions for the fifth time.
Exactly. You're interrogating your family. You're genuinely questioning your own sanity at this point. And then you happen to catch your reflection in the hall mirror, and the glasses are literally resting right there on your nose. Or the keys are just clutched in your left hand.
So the thing you were desperately searching for was, well, it was right there the entire time.
Yeah. You didn't lack proximity to the object. You lacked recognition of it, mostly because you expected the discovery to, I don't know, look or feel different than it actually did.
It points to a profound sort of blindness, I think. It happens when our expectations just don't match reality. We assume that if we are looking for something monumental, the discovery of it must also be accompanied by some, like, monumental event.
Like a flashing neon sign or something.
Right, exactly. A triumphant fanfare, not something quietly resting in our own hand or sitting right in front of our face. Our brains literally filter out the answer because it doesn't fit the dramatic shape of the question we are asking.
And that tension between physical proximity and actual recognition, that is the underlying current of the text we are plunging into today. So whether you are prepping for a big meeting or catching up on your reading or just feeling insanely curious today, welcome.
We are so glad you're here.
We have custom tailored this deep dive just for you to cut right through the noise and get to the mechanics of what is actually happening in these sources. Today, we are looking at the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verses 7 through 14.
A fantastic text.
It really is. And specifically, we are looking at this text through the lens of its liturgical assignment for Saturday, May 2, 2026.
Which is actually a particularly rich date to anchor this text to.
Yeah.
The metadata of our source notes that this reading falls on the memorial of Saint Athanasius, who is, he's listed as a bishop and doctor of the church.
Yeah.
And it lands right in the middle of the fourth week of Eastertide.
And those aren't just arbitrary calendar notes, are they?
Not at all. We're going to see very quickly that the historical battles Athanasius fought and that forward-looking, expansive energy of Eastertide, those are the exact keys required to unlock this specific conversation.
Okay, let's unpack this. The overarching narrative here is a radical transition. We are tracking a shift from a localized physical presence to a massive global empowerment. And it all begins right in the middle of a rather tense dialogue.
Yeah, Jesus is speaking directly to his disciples, and he makes this definitive statement.
Right, he says, "If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him." He's essentially telling them that the search is over. The glasses are on your face. You have seen him.
But Philip, one of the disciples, he immediately responds to this declaration by saying, "Lord, show us the Father, and it is enough for us."
It's just an incredibly revealing moment. Philip is completely bypassing what was just said. I was reading this and thinking about how to frame Philip's mindset. It is a bit like, it's almost like asking to speak to the manager when the CEO is standing right in front of you.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Right. Jesus just said, "You have seen him." And Philip instantly counters with, "Great, show him to us." Why, after spending so much time together, walking the same roads and seeing the same events, why does Philip still demand a separate, spectacular visual proof?
What's fascinating here is that Philip represents a very specific, deeply ingrained human desire for empirical proof, but proof that fits our preconceived categories.
Okay, say more about that.
When he says, "show us and it is enough," he is asking for a localized, verifiable event. He wants the heavens to part. He wants a booming voice. He wants something distinct that he can point his finger at and say, "There, that is the Father."
He completely misses the profound reality of what Jesus is actually saying.
Exactly, because his theological imagination is trapped in a very literal, material framework.
He has categorized Jesus as a teacher or maybe a prophet, so the Father must be some entirely separate, grander entity waiting in the wings.
That is the trap of proximity right there. This highlights the intense contrast between the physical nearness of the disciples to Jesus and their vast distance in actual comprehension. They are shoulder to shoulder with him geographically, but conceptually, Philip is miles away.
Which prompts a reprimand from Jesus that carries a lot of weight. He asks, "Have I been with you so long and you still do not know me, Philip?"
Yeah, you can really hear the frustration there.
It is a stark reminder that proximity doesn't automatically equal comprehension. But Philip's all-too-human demand for visual proof acts as this vital catalyst for the rest of the text. It forces Jesus to lay out the precise mechanics of his identity.
Right. Philip's misunderstanding pivots the entire conversation from a moment of human confusion into a detailed theological blueprint.
Jesus says, "Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, 'Show us the Father'?" And then he challenges Philip directly. He asks, "Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me?"
This brings us to the core concept of the source material, which is often referred to as the divine mirror.
The divine mirror. I like that.
Yeah, the phrase, "whoever has seen me has seen the Father," suggests a reflection so perfect that looking at the image is identical to looking at the source. But Jesus goes further into the mechanics of it. He says, "The words that I say to you I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does his works."
So this is where I want to push on the text a bit, because the phrase, "do not speak on my own authority," could easily be misinterpreted. If we look at the power dynamic being described, it almost sounds like Jesus is presenting himself as a passive vessel,
A passive vessel, yeah.
like a megaphone that the Father is speaking through, or a glove that the Father's hand is moving. So what does this all mean for the power dynamic here? If the words aren't spoken on his own authority, does the text present Jesus as just a vessel or a mouthpiece, or is it describing a perfect, inseparable unity?
Well, if we pull in the context of St. Athanasius, that megaphone idea is exactly what he spent his entire life fighting against.
Wait, really? That was his main issue.
Oh, it was the defining fight of Athanasius's life. In the 4th century, a theologian named Arius argued exactly what you just hypothesized, that Jesus was a lesser creation, a highly exalted vessel or instrument of the Father, but distinct and subordinate in his essence.
Okay, so Arius was pushing the megaphone theory.
Exactly. And Athanasius argued fiercely against this, suffering multiple exiles, actually, to defend the concept of mutual indwelling. He fought for the understanding that this text is not describing an empty vessel.
So what is it describing?
The phrase, "I am in the Father and the Father is in me," describes a profound, inseparable unity of essence and will. Jesus provides two distinct layers of evidence for this belief. First, he invites the listener to believe based on the sheer relationship, the unity of Father and Son.
He says, "Believe me that I am in the Father and the Father is in me." He is asking for trust based on his word alone.
Right. But he knows human nature needs a fallback. If the abstract theology is too blinding to look at directly, he offers a brilliant alternative. He points them to the ground to look at the light it casts.
The works.
Yes, he says, or else believe on account of the works themselves. The text presents the Father dwelling in the Son to do these works, making the actions themselves the ultimate proof of the invisible Father. The works are the mirror reflecting the Father's nature.
That reframes the text entirely. It is not about a puppet master and a puppet. It is about a shared nature.
Precisely.
But once Jesus establishes that baseline, that his works are actually the perfect reflection of the Father acting through him, he makes a breathtaking pivot. He transitions from explaining his own abilities to transferring that exact same potential over to anyone who believes in him.
It is an astonishing promotion for the disciples, to be honest. To be told they will replicate the works of the divine mirror.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because he doesn't just stop at replicating the works. He says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I do. And greater works than these will he do, because I am going to the Father."
That phrase, "greater works," always trips people up.
Of course it does. Let's look at the physics of this claim. How on earth can the text claim that a regular believer, someone like Philip, who is just completely missing the point 2 seconds ago, will do greater works than an incarnate deity? Isn't that mathematically and spiritually impossible based on what we just discussed?
It sounds totally impossible if you view the word greater purely as a measure of supernatural quality or spectacular power. Like nobody is expecting Philip to create a more impressive universe.
Right, exactly. So how does a flawed human surpass the perfect unity with the Father?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the text actually provides the specific why to unlock this paradox. It's in the very same sentence. He says, "Because I am going to the Father."
Okay, so his departure is the key.
Yes, the departure of Jesus is inextricably linked to the expansion of the believer's capabilities. It's not about individual believers being superior, but about the continuation and exponential growth of those works once Jesus returns to the Father.
If he leaves, he is removing the geographical bottleneck. Is that the mechanism here? Because as long as he is physically walking the roads of the ancient Near East, his works are inherently localized, right?
You've hit on the exact physics of the situation. While Jesus is physically present with them, walking in a specific geographical location, his works are confined to where he is standing. He is one person, in one physical body at one time.
Right. If he is teaching in Jerusalem, he cannot simultaneously be healing in Rome.
Exactly. So going to the Father fundamentally changes the rules of engagement. It is the decentralization of those works. Once he returns to the Father, the works are no longer confined to a single physical body. Through the network of believers, the works multiply. They scale globally.
So the greater implies volume, reach, and scope.
Yes, the collective impact of whoever believes in him, spread across time and space, dwarfs the geographical limitations of a single, localized ministry.
That makes so much sense. And that ties perfectly into the liturgical metadata of Eastertide. The entire season of Eastertide in the church calendar is focused on this exact shift, moving away from the localized events in Jerusalem and leaning into the birth of a global movement.
Is the ultimate expansion.
But, the promise of doing greater works leaves a glaring logistical question. How exactly are these followers supposed to accomplish this? I mean, it's a massive mission.
It is a massive mission, but this logical gap is instantly filled by the final, sweeping promise in the text.
Yes. Jesus concludes with this. Whatever you ask in my name, this I will do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask me for anything in my name, I will do it.
It's a very famous line.
It is, but wait. Whatever you ask in my name, I will do it. We have to look closely at this text. Is this presenting faith as a cosmic vending machine? Because that's how a lot of people read it.
It is how a lot of people read it,
Yeah.
but that reading ignores the built-in condition of the text itself.
Hmm.
The promise is directly tethered to the phrase that the Father may be glorified in the Son.
So it's not a blank check for personal wealth.
Right. Asking in my name isn't a magic password. It is intrinsically tied to the earlier discussion of unity in works. To understand the weight of that phrase, we have to look at the ancient concept of agency.
Like legal agency.
Yes, in that era, the concept of an emissary, often called a shaliach in Jewish legal tradition, was well established. An emissary was someone legally deputized to act on behalf of a sender. And the rule was, the sent one is as the sender himself. When a deputized agent made a request in the name of their master, they were wielding the full authority of that master, but strictly for the purpose of executing the master's business.
So it's similar to giving a field general an open, unlimited line of credit to the Pentagon. It is a staggering amount of access, but that access exists exclusively for the purpose of winning the war and executing the mission.
That is a perfect modern equivalent. If the general tries to use that credit line to buy a private island for his own comfort, the transaction fails because it is no longer being executed in the name of the mission.
You are being tasked with these decentralized, greater works, and therefore you are given an open line of communication to request the exact resources needed to accomplish them. The promise of whatever you ask is the supply line for the global expansion.
Exactly. It ensures that the works of the believers remain perfectly reflective of the works of the Father. This raises an important question, though, when we look at the date this is assigned to.
Right. Saturday, May 6, 2026. St. Athanasius.
Yes. Think about how fitting it is that such a dense identity-defining text about the unity of the Father and Son is assigned to the day of a doctor of the Church during Eastertide.
It really pulls it all together. Eastertide is an era of the liturgical calendar focused entirely on new realities.
And Athanasius spent his life fighting to preserve the exact mechanism, the mutual indwelling that makes those new realities possible. Without that unity, the entire system of agency and works just falls apart.
This entire text really is a masterclass in shifting paradigms. Let's trace the arc of the journey we've taken on this deep dive today. We started with Philip's totally relatable misunderstanding, right? He was demanding localized, visual proof of the Father, expecting a grand event while the answer was standing right in front of him.
Like looking for the glasses that are already on your face.
Exactly. Then we explored the profound concept of the divine mirror, utilizing Athanasius' insights to understand that Jesus wasn't a passive vessel, but shared an inseparable unity with the Father.
The invisible Father revealed perfectly in the visible works of the Son.
Then we unpacked the shocking paradox of believers doing greater works. We saw how the departure of Jesus removed the geographic bottleneck so that his works could scale exponentially across the globe.
The decentralization of the mission.
And finally, we clarified the ultimate promise of asking in his name. It's not a vending machine, but an ancient legal proxy to request whatever is necessary to glorify the Father.
It is incredible how seamlessly the text navigates from a single moment of human confusion to laying the architectural foundation for a worldwide reality.
It really is stunning. But before we wrap up today, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to mull over, something that builds on the text but brings it right into your everyday reality.
I love these final takeaways.
Jesus says, "From now on, you do know him and have seen him." If the divine mirror means seeing the Father through the tangible works of the Son, and if the Son has now empowered believers to do those greater works as his authorized emissaries, well, the reflection of the mirror has been multiplied, hasn't it?
It has been scattered across the entire globe.
So, perhaps knowing the divine today isn't about looking up at the clouds, waiting for the heavens to part to reveal a distant Father. And it's not about searching for a flashing neon sign or a localized miracle, which is exactly the trap Philip fell into.
Right, expecting a spectacle.
Instead, if believers are tasked with continuing these works, maybe recognizing the divine is about looking at the tangible, immediate actions of the people standing right next to you.
If the believers are doing the works, they become the continuing reflection. The mirror isn't just a historical artifact. It is entirely present right now.
Just like searching frantically for your glasses, only to catch your reflection and realize they are right there. The thing you are desperately looking for might be closer than you think, reflected quietly in the everyday grace and the works of the people right in front of you.
A profound shift in perspective.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We always love taking these complex sources, cutting through the noise, and mapping out the actual mechanics with you.
It's been a great conversation. Thank you for diving in with us.
Until next time, keep questioning the obvious and keep looking closely at what is right in front of you. See you later.